Hi, everyone, and welcome. Um, so again, this is like my third live chat for the week, actually, and I'm just getting the hang of it. And so the past few lives, I would say, I was just like just trying to get the hang of it and trying to sort of create a structure going into the whole thing. So that's what like I've been doing the past few live chats, but also going forward, I want to keep answering more questions. I had received a few which I will answer in just a few minutes when I have like one or two people at least joining. But apart from that, I'd like to welcome all of you to this live chat. I hope you all can hear me. Um, Not really sure if you can, but let me know if you cannot, because I don't know. Could somebody please let me know if you can hear me on the chat? Because I know the last time that I did my live on webcam, it wasn't very clear. So I want to make sure that I'm audible. So let me know in the uh, chat if you can hear me. Okay, till I figure out my logistics. Okay, I hope I'm audible. And before I get into the answers to the questions that I got, and before I read them out to you, if you have any questions for me, drop them in the comments. Would love to hear from you. Um, Also, if you're new, this is the first time you're joining my live stream, hello and welcome. Drop in a hi or any comment. Yeah, but I really want to know if like you can hear me and I'm not just talking to myself. I actually got about 4 or 5 questions this time, so I'll be taking on those this entire live. So if you have any questions regarding that, or if you have any comments or anything to add, please do so. I'd love to know what you think, or what you think of my thoughts about these things. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Um, and of course, I'm just gonna wait for like 5 minutes till to see if I have anybody join in, or actually, no, I don't think I'll be waiting for that long. Um, just because, if you're watching this later on after the live stream has ended, I wouldn't want to keep you waiting for like 5 minutes to do this. Um, okay, so the first question I had was, what motivated you to move to Canada and how has the experience been so far? Well, what motivated me? So I have said this before in one of my videos. I think it's the PR process video that I did, which of course all these videos that I'm talking about, I'll leave the links to it in the description. So even after I'm done with this live, y'all can go revisit this live. But what motivated me to come to Canada? Um, okay, let me see. There you go. Okay, so again, like I said, I have mentioned this before in one of my videos, the PR process video, why I decided to move to Canada. Well, it's like this. Like I have wanted to study abroad for a while, but then I couldn't get around it due to various reasons. And of course, when it came to like moving abroad or studying abroad or whatever, I had like the top three choices that I had were like New Zealand, Australia, and of course Canada. But I also did look at like some European countries like Germany, Finland, things like that. But language was kind of a barrier there, and I didn't want to sort of study a whole new language. So I thought, why not Canada? Um, and like I said, the top three were Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. For me, this might even like sound super silly, but like um, I mean, I did like can Australia. I visited Australia. I liked it, but the fact that Australia and New Zealand does not have their winter in December was quite a determining factor for me. Like I know, like I said, this sounds super silly. So that was kind of one of the main, not the main reasons, but it was something that put me off about Australia and New Zealand. But I mean, I like the countries for sure, and it's it's not like visiting a country as a tourist. It's different when you plan on moving and living in a country. So yeah, so that was that, and um, I also felt that the Canadian migration process was very, very straightforward. And I mean, at least from whatever research I did, like the consultants that I spoke to, I felt like um, Canada was more, streamlined. It was easy. Everything was like out there. Like there was no like um, basically nothing hidden in the process. So you could like find everything online. I just felt Canada would be a good option for me. And yes, a question that most people like have in their mind is like, can you cope with Canadian winter, especially coming from like a tropical country where we never experience any like winters per se. But yeah, that was really not a determining factor for me because except for the fact that like winter is not in December was a big deal almost. But yeah, that was kind of my thought process. The fact that it was pretty straightforward, the Canadian migration process. So that was that, and yeah, so that was like one of the main reasons um, why I was motivated to move to Canada. How has the experience been so far? Um, to be honest, it's quite like it's good. It's been good. Obviously, it's like a lot of like settling down, familiarizing yourself with like new things, and of course, that can be it's a long process to say the least, and it's it's something that I mean, different people take it differently, but the experience has been good. Like it's okay. Like no big complaints. But it's also like your circumstances and what you face during these times, right? Um, the yeah, like I won't say it's like easy. Oh, it's like a walk in the park. It's really not because you're learning everything from scratch. Like the smallest things, like even like grocery shopping and things like that. You're just getting accustomed to all of these, and yeah, it's a whole new change in lifestyle. So yeah, apart from that, uh, when it comes to experience, I mean, of course, like it's been good. It's been good. A lot of learnings and yeah, a lot of new things, which is nice. I mean, I think right now we are in like the honeymoon phase of like moving to a new country where everything is new and you're learning a lot of new things. So everything is kind of fascinating, things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much where I stand, like when it comes to experience and stuff. But you also learn a lot, like about handling different things. Because you're by yourself and like you don't have any like, unless you do, of course, you don't have any family around or anything like that. It's very like, um, you're by yourself. You have to deal with your own stuff. So, yeah. One second. I just want to make sure that you can hear me because, okay. Anyway, well, I hope you can hear me. Um, but okay, so that's about like everything to do with moving here, my motivation to move here, and also the experience that I'm having right now. Yeah. Okay, so I have like 4 questions today, and just need one. The second question I have is, how do you cope with Canadian weather, especially in the winter? Any tips for newcomers? Okay, let me be very honest. Yes, Canada is a cold country. It is cold, but coping with the Canadian weather, I don't think is that big of a deal. It's all part of like familiarizing yourself with how to deal with winter, how to deal with snow, ice, things like that, of course. But yeah, I mean, everything here is kind of prepared for a winter. So it's not really that bad. Like you'd think it's difficult or you think it's hard. Of course, like for example, going to work or something, commuting, things like that could get hard. But apart from that, it's not like, all these like, even like your commute, like say if you're taking a subway or a bus or something, it's not like you're walking out to the cold. Like, yes, you'd have to go through like a cold period of like walking to the bus stop or walking to the subway or something like that. But everything is like heated and like you don't really have to, sit in the cold throughout. It's not like you're living outside during the winter. Of course, like you'll have some shelter, so those places are all heated. So I think Canada is, in terms of preparedness, Canada is pretty prepared, obviously, for winter. So I mean, there's nothing really. It's not as bad as like you'd think it is. Um, like after like the first winter, no, we've only like lived through one winter. We are just entering the second one, but even then, it can get like kind of boring towards like the later months of winter because all the festivities are done by December, and you're just like home and working, and that's pretty much it. Because life gets a little bit slow during the winter months. But apart from that, it's not as bad as like you'd think it would be. It's pretty like life goes on and you're moving on. Like you're looking forward to the next season. So I think that's something that keeps you going. Like when you're in winter, you kind of you're looking forward to the spring and you're looking forward to the summer. So yeah, I think that's how it is, and it's not as bad as you think it would be, unless you're like doing like some employment like outside, and I'm sure it would be a bit tough. But apart from that, I think it's pretty manageable. Um, yeah. Next, any tips for newcomers? Okay, so as a newcomer myself, what I can say is, you have to be prepared um, for the winter, because I mean you have to have the proper clothing, you have to have the proper accessories. You need to make sure you're dressing for a winter. Um, so my tip to a newcomer would be like, always be prepared, have everything you want in your wardrobe that could get you through a winter, things like that. So yeah, that's one thing that I'd like. Uh, how do I say? Yeah, so that's like one of the main tips that I would give you. Like, get your thermals, like your innerwear, get your gloves and your toques, like your beanies and scarves and things like that. I think that would be the main stuff, apart from like obviously like a proper winter jacket and proper winter boots. That would be like your that would be what will take you through your winter months. So be prepared, like always have those ready, like even if it's not snowing outside or whatever. Um, it's gonna be cold, so you carry your scarf or like wear your winter boots when you're going out, like if you're going to be out for a while, things like that. So yeah, so be prepared is what I'd say. Some of the elements, I'm going to ignore your comments, and I know who it is, so I'm going to ignore your comments. I request people who join this live to be very like, be polite, man. Like, come on. Um, okay, how do you cope? Yeah, so I hope that's like a good tip. Um, I know, like, if you're driving and things like that, it's not really, it won't be much of an issue, but always have like a um, extra pair of clothes, some food, and things like that ready in your vehicles, because you never know what, like if you're stuck in like a winter storm or something, you need to be prepared. So yeah, that's one thing that you need to like consider, like if you're driving or even in your commuting, like just make sure you have everything you need. Okay, so the next question that I got was, can you share some cultural differences or interesting aspects of life in Canada? This is interesting. Actually, this question, like when I got it, so I have a video, like a full-on video that I'm planning on doing. It's in the works actually, that I want to share very soon. But I just like touch on some stuff that I thought about when this question was asked. There's like some cultural differences. Like I don't know if most of the things that I'm going to say are cultural differences, but um, like I have traveled quite a bit, like before I moved to Canada, like to different parts of the world. And in all those situations, you're a tourist and you're not like you're not going to live there in the long term. So you don't see them the way that you would if you're a tourist, right? Like I don't think it's cultural differences, but some interesting things that I noticed, like moving from Sri Lanka to Canada. I thought I'll just list them out. Um, okay, so the first thing I would say is transport. So I'm not talking about like the developed countries here when I say this, but like I said, I've traveled in other countries. I've taken public transport in the other countries, and I think it's pretty much the same. But like for somebody who's like just if this is like the first like Western country that you're traveling to or something, the transport system, like especially coming from Sri Lanka, this could be a shock or this could be very interesting. The fact that sorry, what? I'm just like trying to read your comments. Yeah, it's a diffuser. Anyway, yeah. So what I was saying was the transportation is usually like not always. It's mostly on time. Like I'm saying this particularly because like I know like Sri Lankan transport is not so reliable to say, like public transport. Not like condemning it or anything, like I have no hate towards it or whatever, but like transportation here, like you get like frequent buses, frequent subway services, things like that. Yes, the TTC, like the subway could be like annoying sometimes, having lived here for like over a year. Yes, it does get annoying, but it's mostly on time. Like it shows how long it'll take for the next bus, and usually the schedule is pretty on point, like even on Google Maps or whatever. So, which is not something you get in like Sri Lanka, to be very specific. And like there are like it's all like self-service, like there's conductors or whatever. There's no concept of a conductor over here. So I think that was something interesting that I never like. Even having traveled in other countries, like it's not something like you it's not something that really like clicks you, or like you feel is very interesting. But now that I've lived it, and like you're starting to compare things between your home country and here, and that's one thing that I noticed like the very first time. And the routes and everything are very like Google Maps, everything is on Google Maps. And yeah, so that's one major cultural, it's not a cultural difference, like I said, it's something that I noticed that was very interesting to me. The next thing I would say that was interesting to me about Canada that I didn't find, I don't think I found it in Sri Lanka, the weather. Like how, okay, yes, Canada is a cold country, like during the winter months, whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the weather, like every day. Everything changes so fast and it's so rapid, like sometimes you're not prepared. And like the fact that you have to dress appropriately for different weathers, like it could be super sunny like 1 hour and the next hour it could be like gloomy and raining. So excuse me. So how rapidly the weather changes is kind of like, it was interesting to me. I think that was something that I experienced once I got here. I don't think I've experienced that in any country that I visited so much, but I think having lived here for a while, it kind of it's kind of something that you feel like, oh my god, like what are you doing? Like what is this weather sort of thing. So that's another thing. So the other thing that I probably would like to, you know, think is a difference would be like the people. Let's talk about the people, okay? Like one thing I noticed, like when we landed, like when we were here for the first time, like everything was kind of new for us, and we were sort of, even figuring out like the routes, the bus routes, the subways, because it's very confusing, like the directions how they are set out here, like east and west and north and south, which is not something we're used to. So like figuring out bus routes and whatever was also kind of like um, it was a little bit like different. So one thing I felt was that people are very like in a way friendly. Like one from our personal experience, like we've had people like, we'll be in the subway trying to figure out where we are going, like which route to take, like which subway we need to go to. Are we heading west? Are we heading east? So it gets really, really confusing, right? And what I felt was like some people actually stop and ask you like, where are you trying to go? Like, do you want any help? Like people were very friendly to us, like when we first came here. So I felt like that was a huge deal. Especially like figuring out routes. Like you'd think it's super easy, like check Google Maps. Why is it so hard? It is hard when it's new for you, right? So yeah, I felt like people were friendly here. And like even during like like on a daily basis, people would just like when you're passing somebody, a stranger on the street, they'd come up to you and say, "Hello, hi, good morning," or like, "How are you doing?" Things like that. So it's a very common greeting here to ask a person how they are doing. So I think that's like a normal hello in any other country or like in Sri Lanka, for example. So yeah, they don't really expect an answer from you, but yes, they would like be like, "Hey, how are you doing?" So yeah, that's one thing that I felt like people are quite friendly. But that was during the first few months that I figured like they're friendly, whatever. But as time went by, what I felt was people are very, very, very to themselves. So it's like they're not very social unless they have to be or unless they know you very well, particularly. So yeah, I felt like I mean, after some time, I think also it is because it's a very, very multicultural city, like especially Toronto. But uh, it's, yeah, I think it's got to do with that as well. So I have a comment here. Don't, don't they do it in Sri Lanka? Anangi. I'm not talking about catcalling. Like you don't. I I personally haven't had people catcall here. Like people just be like, "Hey, good morning, how are you doing?" That's it. And they just walk by, get on with their day. This is not catcalling that I'm talking about. In Sri Lanka, yes, I've had that a lot, but people just don't be like, "Hey, kohomada," like people don't do that, right? Or is it just me? I don't know. Either way, yeah. So that's one thing I noticed about here. That was quite interesting. What else did I think? Cultural differences. Um, there's quite a lot. Okay, I'm going back to like the transport situation here. One thing that I felt, okay, not I felt, everybody knows this. Like if you're in Toronto and like you're traveling by public transport, everything is an hour away minimum. Everything. Like something that would only take you 15 minutes to drive would be an hour away. So there is that. And yeah, that kind of puts into perspective also like how how not very connected the public transport is. Um, but also like the fact that this is such a huge country, like it's got so much like land, um, and everything is very further apart from each other. Like even like a shopping mall or like whatever it is, it's very far away. And yeah, so that's one thing that I noticed. So if you're taking the bus or the subway, and if you have to be somewhere, just make sure you're leaving home at least an hour or a half before the time you have to reach, because it's going to take a long time. Or if you're taking a cab, which is super expensive, by the way, yeah, it would take you there in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Yeah, so that's that's what it is. And yeah, I think those are the main like cultural differences that I kind of no, there's a lot more, which I'd probably do in that separate video. So, stay tuned for that video, which I'll be doing like one of the next few weeks. But yeah, those are the main things that I kind of wanted to talk about when it comes to cultural differences or like aspects of life in Canada that might be interesting to people. So yeah, that's about it for that. I mean, I'd like to leave that there. Um, Next up was actually one question that I got like on a recent post This is quite like a bigger topic. It's about like a job and like salary scale and like cost of living and things like that. So I thought I'd like answer it. That would probably be the last question I answer for today, before I sort of, head out or whatever. Okay, so the question is, let me open it up. Pastry chef කෙනෙක්ගේ salary කොහොමද next year එන්නේ ඉන්නේ Ontario living cost for one person. Okay, so first of all, congratulations on your move. All the best to you, and I hope you find a job as soon as you move here and settle down, and things go well for you. So yeah, all the best. So when I say, I think I'll first address the cost of living aspect, and I want to break this down as well. When it comes to like cost of living, there are quite a few different factors that would be considered. And the first thing I would say would be housing. I addressed this on like the previous video, like the previous live chat where I'm asking a lot of questions about housing in Canada. But let me just break this down a little bit, like when it comes to housing. So basically rent, like what type of place you're renting. It could be a room, it could be like a whole unit. So things like that. It depends on that. It depends on the location of the unit. It depends on the size of the unit, the amenities included in the unit. So rent can include all of those things. So like if you're closer to a major city, it's going to be different. If you're further away from a major city, it's going to be different. So I'd say judging from like I'm sorry, I'm just looking out the window and I saw this car that was struggling to reverse. I felt like that's me, you know. Okay, back to the housing question. Sorry, the housing point that I want to talk about when it comes to cost of living. I feel okay. So further away you're from Toronto, the lower the rent would be for a room or a unit. But let's say you're in like the greater Toronto area where you're not really like the downtown core, you would be paying anywhere between $1,000 to $2,500, even if it's a room or like a full-on apartment. So that's one thing that you need to consider. Next, I think one of the main things that adds to your cost of living would be utilities. Utilities include like heating, electricity, water, garbage disposal, what else? Cooling, all of that. Okay, so all of that comes as utilities. And I would say all of that again depends on where you're living, how you're living, are you sharing with someone? All of that like depends. But I'd say anywhere between like $100 to $200 for that. Next is another major component of like cost of living, that is groceries. And I'd say it depends on your eating habits, of course, like what preferences you have when it comes to like diet, like how well balanced like your meals are, things like that. Like it depends on how you eat. Sorry. But I'd say the best way to go about food is to cook at home, because eating out or like getting deliveries could be quite expensive. Like a meal could cost easily at least $15 at least, without delivery charges and stuff. Like even if you're eating out at like a fast food chain or something, it would still cost you about $10 to $15. So I would say eating out would be expensive, but if you're cooking at home, that's the best way to go. It's the cheapest way to go. And that would be like, I'd say groceries, like for one person, could could vary between like 300, somewhere in the 300s range, depending on like how much you eat and all of that. Also, I have a hi, Shifan. Shifan, hi. Yeah. So welcome to my live. Just answering some random questions that I got. So currently, I'm answering the question of like how much is cost of living in like Ontario. Yeah. Okay. So that's about groceries. Like for a single person, I'd say like 250, 300 would be like the normal range. But yeah, so that's like a reasonable amount to like live off of. It could depend, it could vastly vary from person to person and your preferences. So the next thing that I'd want to talk about when it comes to cost of living is transport. So there's two ways to go about this, like public transport or your personal vehicle. When it comes to personal vehicle, of course, you have your insurance to pay, you have fuel, maintenance, parking, all of that adds into like your vehicle cost, unless you're buying it off like good for you. But if you're like leasing it or financing it or something, then yeah, so there'll be the vehicle payment, but also like the other things added to it. And I'd say if you're a newcomer, your insurance would usually be high, quite high, um, at least like $250, $300 based on where you are living. Um, Again, if you're in like more crowded, like city center sort of areas, then it's going to be more like the insurance cost is going to be higher. If you're further away from the city, then it's going to be lower. But again, it could vary depending on like where you're staying and the car you drive, all of that matters. So that will come up to like about, I'd say if it's for like a single person or something, it would be about at least $350 or more. So yeah, that's car. But if you're in like if you're using public transport, it's very different. Like I said, public transport takes a lot of time. So it's not the most convenient, but um, it could save you money if you're using public transport. I'd say about $150 a month would be like a usual rate for uh, transport for a single person. I have another question. Do you have any insights on the current job market in tech? Okay. Okay, let me answer that first and then go back to like the living cost. So, I mean, there's a pretty high demand for tech jobs, tech roles. Um, of course, it depends on like what type of tech you're into. I know like there's so many different types of tech because like, my husband is like tech. So it's a different situation, but like it depends on where, like what sort of tech you're into. Um, yes, there is demand for tech like all across Canada. Um, but one thing that I also want to mention, which I also mentioned in my previous live, is that during winter months, recruiting is very slow. So, I mean, this is just like generic to winter months, but um, um, yeah, so during winter, recruitments are sort of on hold, everybody's on holiday, blah, blah, blah. But apart from that, there is high demand for tech. And one thing that I also want to mention is that a lot of firms are currently like doing a lot of layoffs. Like, I don't want to sugarcoat this like in any way. I know like two or three people in tech who were recently like laid off from their roles. But again, depends on like the company you're working for or things like that. So laying off is like a one-off thing. Like it's very common here. Like it happens all the time. But it is if I'm to very blatantly answer this question, yes, there is a demand for roles in tech, but it's very competitive. So keep that in mind too. And usually, like landing a role is like gonna take a while. So yeah, I keep that in mind too if I'm looking to like move or if I'm looking to, start moving to Canada or like working in Canada. But yeah, I hope that I answered your question to some extent. Don't forget to like hit the like or whatever on this live, so that more people can see this live. But yeah, if you have any more questions, let me know and answer them. Um, okay, so the other point that I want to talk about is healthcare. No problem, anytime. Healthcare is usually covered by like the government, like the Ontario Health. I'm talking about Ontario, guys, okay? Ontario residents usually get healthcare depending on like what visa you're on. Like if you're on PR, if you're a student, or if you're like um, yeah, work permit, I think it depends. So you get your provincial healthcare that is called the OHIP. So you're covered for most of the things when it comes to healthcare, but there are some like medicines and like healthcare services that are not covered by OHIP. So if you have a job and like if it's like a permanent job or if one of the perks they offer is healthcare good for you, you don't have to pay for anything in healthcare. But if not, it largely varies from like person to person, situation to situation. But generally, healthcare is free. Next thing in cost of living, I would say is like internet and like Wi-Fi, like phone and stuff. Um, you guys, when I tell you, services are very expensive here in Canada, like your um, data services. Like it's very expensive. Like when we moved here, and um, the first time we went to buy a SIM, like it's there in one of the videos. I think the first landing video. Again, I'll link it down in the description after this live is done. So check it out. We go and check out like data plans, and can you guess how much like 9 GB cost here for a newcomer? It's insane. Like how much a 9 GB costed like for on a sim. Like just take a guess. Like I see like there are 6 people on this live. Just guess how many dollars it costed for 9 GB. Okay. I don't know if anybody's gonna guess this, but I don't know if anybody's gonna comment, but I'm gonna give this like a second or something, because it's absolutely insane, like how much it costed. 20 CAD. I wish. Um, but nope. Do I have any more guesses? Okay, so I'm gonna like tell you guys how much it costed us for 9 GB. It was $45 without taxes for 9 GB. And I'm just like, dude, that is an insane amount for just 9 GB. And 9 GB goes off like so soon, uh, especially during like summer, because you're always out. Unless you're like, it's during winter and you're like indoors and stuff, then you're using your Wi Fi, it costs a little lesser than that. But $45 without taxes for 9 GB was absolutely insane. But we had no option. We went ahead with that. Um, and there are certain ways to like go about it or whatever, but like, I mean, not then and there. You have to, because you're a newcomer, you don't have credit score, you don't have any like any other way of like showing them your credibility or whatever. So yeah, we had to go with like $45 for 9 GB when we started off here. It was absolutely insane. But again, if you're like a little bit more seasoned and like have a little bit more, credit score or whatever, you can. It's a little lesser after that. You can get about 20 GB for like $40 or whatever. Like it changes on your network as well. Hi, Hiroshini. How are you? You guys, I'd appreciate it if you could like hit like a like or send some hearts or something like just a comment because it helps like my live reach more people. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take a few seconds to like send some hearts or whatever it is that people do on here. But yeah, so phone and internet, that's like around 40. You can get your phone package, and internet can cost you anything around 50 ish. I'm not exactly sure how much you're paying for internet. Actually, I think it's about $50 again for internet. But if you're like on a plan with like a phone, then you're paying for the phone and the contract, so that's gonna cost you more. So I'd say for phone and internet in total would cost you, I'm saying phone plan and internet. So I'm saying you're getting the device, like say if you want the new iPhone, you have that, and then you get the contract on top of it, which is your data or like your cell service. And your internet would cost you anywhere between like 80 to 120-ish, depending on what network you're using and what company you're going with. Hi Ranga, thanks for joining. And yeah, so that's roughly phone and internet. And of course, then the other major part of cost of living is entertainment and recreation. Again, this is purely based on you, like what you like to do. Like, do you like to go to party? Do you like to go watch games? Do you like to take part in adventurous stuff? Do you just like camping, like whatever? It all depends on like what you want to do. Do you like eating out, blah blah blah? So it all depends on like what you want to do. So I'm not gonna put a tag on that because I really can't. um yeah, and then I'd say insurance. Usually life insurance, like health insurance and stuff, is covered by your employer most of the times. But if not, you have to go with a government plan, and that could cost, if you're not going like a employer, your private insurance would cost you anything between, I would say 20-50 dollars, so something around that. And yeah, the other like shopping and like things you want to buy and all of that is not part of in like your cost of living. So that's it. So I think all of that sort of adds up to like your cost of living. And yeah, so I'd say I'm not gonna like add it up and say it's this much because I really can't say. But those are roughly the breakdowns for each, like all of that in the cost of living aspect for Canada, but mostly to Ontario. When it comes to like other provinces, it could be lesser. Like for example, I'm pretty sure it's lesser, like even taxes and stuff are lesser in like provinces like Alberta. But yeah, these I'm mostly talking about Ontario. How are you, Dua? I'm good. Thank you. And how are you? Thanks, you guys, for like sticking around and watching this live. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to drop them in the comments. Um, I would love to answer questions, and I've already answered like 3 or 4 questions, which I'll post this live as a separate video on my profile later towards today. But you can check it out at any time. I've answered all these questions, like even on my previous lives, like I've answered questions on housing, again, cost of living, things like that. But yeah, if you have any questions, you can always ask on the chat. So the question that I was answering was like Ontario cost of living, and so this person wanted to know how much like a pastry chef can earn in Ontario. So again, I would say it depends on like where you're working in Ontario, how much experience you bring in. Are you a newbie? Like, are you like just starting off as a pastry chef? Even if you're like quite experienced, you move here, you might not be able to land like something in the same level that you were. This is quite normal for all industries. Um, like, so from the research that I've done about like how much a pastry chef earns, it could be anywhere between I'd say for an entry level pastry chef. So even if you're coming to Canada with some experience, you might still have to go with a job that is on an entry level. It could be somewhere between 40 to 50,000 per annum, roughly. I'm not saying this is the case for everyone. It could be different on your experience, like what you're bringing, and all of that. So yeah, I hope you have an answer to that question, but it can go up to like when I did the research on like how much a pastry chef earns here, it could go up to like 80, 90,000 a year too, but it depends again on your experience, where you're working, what province, all of that. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. And like when it comes to like salaries here, you usually get paid by the hour, or you get paid like bi-weekly, weekly, things like that. So it's different to like Sri Lanka. So keep that in mind as well. What else? I think I answered all my 4 questions that I had today. Actually, I have 5 questions, but I don't know if I have enough time to answer like a fifth question. I would probably like do that in my next live because it's almost like an hour. And yeah, thanks for whoever is like sending me all these likes. I appreciate it. You guys, if y'all are like, just sitting and watching me, you can do it too. But thank you so much. Um, yeah, I think that's like all the questions I had for the day. But again, I have like 7 minutes that I can like answer random questions if y'all have any. So let me know. I spoke a lot. Like, now I'm hungry. So, who do I have on this live? Like, drop in a hi or something if you're just joining or if you've been here. Introduce yourselves and, like, tell me about you. Um, any new videos coming out? Of course. Like, I have 3 in the making. Um, I'm also planning on doing something super exciting. at least for me, during the month of December, because I don't know how many of you guys know about Vlogmas. It's this concept where people like put out one video every day. Um, I'm not going to commit to that. That's a lot of work, but oops. But I'm planning on doing something along those lines. Let's see. Can you make a video about Canada's car prices? Sure. I have friends that I can reach out to about this. Maybe I do a live with them and they can answer all your like car related questions. How does that sound to you guys? මට ඒක එයාගෙන් ප්‍රශ්නය අහලා ඒ වෙලාවම ඕගලන්ට ආන්සර් දෙන්න. Notice a new person narrating in the videos. Who is that? Oh, that is like this friend of mine. Yeah. Yeah, you'd see a lot more of her. But yeah. I just leave it at that. Any other questions? But like about the car thing, I never thought about it. Okay, about the car thing, I never thought about it. Okay, I'll do something like that. Maybe I should like um get a car car dealership owner or somebody, and then oh my god, that sounds so good. I think I should do something like that. Thank you. I hope it's soon. Yeah. Let me do it. Like I promise, like sometime in January, I'd get this video done for you. I hope that's enough time because I have a lot of things planned for December. How's temperature there in Canada? Is it cold? By the way, my daughter lives in Nigeria. Oh, wonderful. I have like a few Nigerian friends. They're really nice people. Temperature in Canada now is pretty mild for this time of the year, apparently, but it's kind of cold. Yeah, we were out yesterday and it was really like it was cold. It's getting cold. Winter is coming, so getting ready for that. But it's kind of cold. Definitely not like it is in Nigeria. I know Nigeria is very tropical, very like warm temperature. It's like Sri Lanka, I think, when it comes to temperature. But over here, it's a little bit different. Well, not a little bit. I would say that would be different, but I I mean, it's cold here, of course. Um, anything else? Is that smoke behind you? Yeah, it is. Good, no? Um, Also, I'm doing a full video about that. Go check it out. It's coming like I'd say next week. So there's that. All right. So I think that kind of like any other questions we have? Anything you guys want to say to me? Something nice? Something not so nice? How much does the groceries cost for a month or two? Okay, so early on in this video, which I'll post later on, like I'm posting this entire live on my channel, you all can check it out. But I break down like literally the cost of living. Uh, for two grocery costs, again, like I said, it depends on how like your individual like spending is. Like individual eating habits are like. Like, say for example, if you make a lot of like it depends on what type of food you eat and like the sort of stuff you want to try and things like that, and how much your how do I say? I got distracted by like a comment, sorry. How much like you want to spend on your food and stuff. Um, but I'd say it could be for two people for a month could cost anywhere between um, say 400 to around $600. Again, depending on what you eat. And if you're eating out, that's a different story. Altogether, it's more costlier then, but like I'd say 400 to 600 ish a month would be like your typical grocery cost for a month. Me personally, like we do like grocery shopping like once every 2 weeks, and like for us it comes to about 250 per like trip, so it's different. Some we get some stuff like here and there during the week, so yeah, so I'd say somewhere around that. But I mean, of course it depends on where you're shopping. Like if you're going to like a high-end like grocery store, you're obviously paying more. But if you're going to like wholesale stores like Costco, it could look like a big amount, but you're getting a lot for a very lesser amount. Magic colleague. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What's your plan for the weekend? Oh, I have plans. I have a friend coming over, and I also am going to watch. I'm going downtown for some stuff. So yeah, maple syrup or kettle panning. Oh, actually, I never thought about it. Like, what would I pick? I don't know. I actually like kettle panning. Maple syrup is a little bit different. I don't know. I'm not gonna pick. I like both. Hi, Chamikara. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions you guys wanna ask? No? Okay. Sounds good. You guys can check out this live on my channel in a few hours. Thanks for the likes and the hearts and whatever it is that you're sending me. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for joining. Today's live has more participants than yesterday's, and that is great. Great stuff. Uh, thank you guys. Thanks for joining in. I'll see you soon. Maybe next week with my regular lives at this time. I do one on Tuesday, and I have a new video coming out on Wednesday, and I do one on Thursday or Friday, another live. So yeah, thank you so much for joining, you guys, and don't forget to leave your questions in my posts or any video. It doesn't really matter. I'll answer them during the lives, and yeah, thank you all so much for joining. I'll see you soon. Stay safe and take care.